Hello everyone. Tonight I am honored and privileged to present to you a friend of mine, a great friend and a brother in the Lord. He has a wonderful testimony that he wants to tell you about. Dennis has gone through a lot in his life. He's had some real times when he wasn't sure. There's other times when the Lord has blessed him so much. He's going to tell you about a story of when he went to heaven and he came back. And he's going through stage 4 cancer right now, and we don't know how much time the Lord is going to give him. But I know the Lord is going to bless him, and he's going to bless you as you watch this. So with no more further ado, I just want to present to you my friend, Dennis Demers from Windsor, Ontario. Welcome, Dennis.
Well, thank you, Dave. I guess the main part of the main testimony tonight will be about the trip I made to heaven when I was young, and I know now is the time to tell it, as 3 confirming signs from the Lord that this is that time. And it happened when I was probably 8 or 9 years old on a day that ambulance was called, thought my appendix ruptured. Things changed. My father was a doctor, decided to keep me home where he could keep an close eye on me. And I'm pretty sure it was that night, although that's quite a few years ago, almost 50. Angel came and said to come with me, and without thinking at all, just grabbed the angel's hand and rose up and found myself on these 2 steps with a narrow gate on the edge of a cliff. The gate was so narrow the angel had to go first. We had to go single file through the gate. And as we got in, the angel let go of my hand, and I was just amazed at the vast beauty that lay right ahead of me. The most beautiful garden with flowers unlike any I had ever seen before. So very brightly colored and richly textured. The garden's laid out perfectly. To the left of the gate, in front of the trees, was a throne with no one sitting there at this time, and I was allowed to walk around admiring some of the gardens. And further off and to the left, further back, was a big white building with Roman pillars that went like to the roof, like a couple stories high, not just half the building height. And I asked about the building. I asked the angel, what kind of building is that? And she said, well, it's like a library. I said, so there's books in there? And the angel said, yes, there's books there. No more elaboration than that, but I just kept admiring the beauty of the flowers, the layout, the design of the whole garden area was so amazing. And the peace and security afforded by the light was not found here on earth. But yet this was like Earth, very familiar in most ways, but yet different. And the pathways and the flowers, just I can't even describe them. I mean, today's hybrids are coming closer to what they were, but back in 1960 there was nothing even close at that time. And then a couple figures came, acknowledged me briefly as they went by, spoke to one, and went through an opening by the trees to another area I couldn't see. So I continued to walk around with the angel, and then I heard a great noise and felt a great shaking. I didn't know what this was, but I feared nothing. I felt completely safe and secure, despite all the noise and the ground shaking under my feet. So I asked the angel what was going on, but I could see because I approached the opening the 2 figures went through, one to the right, off to the right, one to the left, both outstretched their arms to heaven, and I realized that this garden was actually on a mountain, and this mountain had just split in half. There was a great gulf of fresh dirt, and way out across the side I could see nothing but people clamoring and jumping into the freshly created valley as they just poured in like they had been anticipating and waiting for this. And they were happy. I had the impression, very happy, not angry people about this, and they just poured in here like this was something long awaited. But the surprise here is the angel told me quite abruptly then, now it's your time to go. And I kind of didn't like that very much. But I wanted to know more what was going on, so the angel took me by the hand, started to lead me away, and I kind of protested, and then she said, well, wouldn't you like to see your family and everybody again? I said, oh yeah, oh, great idea. Let's go back and get them and bring them here. They'll love it. I thought, that's the most wonderful idea of all. The angel said, no, it doesn't work that way. No, you have to go back. And you can come back here when you're done the work the Lord's given you to do. Well, that's not working out the way I was hoping here. But I soon found out I wasn't dealing with Bob Barker, and this wasn't let's make a deal. Wasn't getting my way here. So I just said, well, then what if I don't do that work? And the angel gave me kind of an incredulous look, like, what a silly question. And so on our way we went. And then all of a sudden I realized I flew through the roof of the house and through my bedroom ceiling. And I thought, wow, boy, wasn't that something? Until I looked down. And then I saw my body, my fleshly body, laying here in my bed. And I thought, oh my God, I've died and I've just left heaven, so where am I headed now? So, but then the angel reassured me and said, it's okay, just everything's fine. Just line up your body the way you see it on the bed. Turn over on your back like you're laying there. Put your two arms in the same position you see there. Two legs the same way you see there. And just fall back into your body. And I did that. And then afterwards, and looking back now, I realized there was so much meaning that immediately I didn't really understand here. Like, my fleshly body is something that's very familiar to me. I hadn't even realized, my spiritual body, I mean. I hadn't realized I left the fleshly body until I seen it laying there on the bed. That I got two arms and two legs. That heaven and the light is so special, but not unfamiliar, but yet different. Almost like a new earth. A whole different earth, but yet in the kind of environment that you're familiar with. And that the spiritual body is completely separate than the fleshly body, which eventually wastes away here. But the spiritual body is not destroyed here. Nor can anyone here destroy it. Another amazing part was the peace and security and the complete feeling of well-being, standing in the light, a light unlike any other. Looked similar to sunlight here, but it wasn't the same kind of light. The sunlight here doesn't have those characteristics in it. And it's very comforting, and even now, not really afraid of dying. Don't even think it's going to be, as soon as the doctors may be expecting, because I haven't had that indication from the Lord, and I know the angel told me not till my work's done, and I don't feel like I'm almost done yet. And, as Jesus had said, we enter heaven as a child. And in the light of eternity, my 57 years, I'm only a child. So I look forward to all I still have to learn ahead of me, and all there is to see and what lies ahead, because even though I may not be just a 5-year-old child, it's taken me 57 years to learn how to walk, but still a child, and need the characteristics of a child, to trust a parent. Those are one of the most important things in a child does. They rely on their parents for everything, trust their judgment, rely on them for nourishment, care, guidance, and that's what God wants you to do. And that's why Jesus died on the cross. So your sins can be forgiven, and you can be His brother and share in eternal life with Him in heaven. And I wish to see all my family, friends, and people I haven't even met there. I look forward to meeting in the years ahead. And when I leave here, when that time has come, that I finally get my work done, being a procrastinator that I am, probably not all that quickly, but anyhow, I guess that's it for now, and maybe try and get a couple pictures like the garden, because it was an artist that did a very beautiful picture. I'm sure it was the same area of the garden but from a different side of the building. The garden layout was the same. And a prayer blanket, which was a third confirming sign, with a garden in it of brightly colored flowers that I received earlier this week. And then I knew this was the time to go ahead with recording this as I had been asked. And so I had 3 confirming signs, 1, 2, 3 in a row, 3 days in a row, and I wasn't asking for a confirming sign, but I knew then. So my wife asked me, thought about it, then she asked one friend at church. He broke down crying, saying he'd been praying for 2 weeks, trying to figure out how to ask me, because he had heard the story. And then the blanket was the third confirming sign, and I knew that this was the time to do this. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope it benefits you and leads you to trust God, because it's a whole different world when you have confidence in God than it is when you try and fight it on your own. Thank you very much.
Well, welcome to tonight's second part of Dennis's wonderful testimony. The first part was his trip he made to heaven, and speaking with the angel and seeing all that went on up there, and seeing the garden and the glorious flowers. And tonight he's going to tell a different part of his testimony. And Dennis, welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave. Yeah, this part, not quite so good to be a part of. You'd think after making the trip to heaven, you'd have some great story to tell of how you went to work for the Lord. But in my case, was quite different. It didn't work out that way at all. I was kind of resentful about leaving heaven in the first place, as I said in the first part. Tried to bargain to try and stay there, but that wasn't working. And then came back here, and then being a child, didn't really know what to do, and then started thinking about things more, and I know now it was probably Satan planting the seeds and the enemy going to work, but, you know, it entered into my mind, you know, why did you need to know that you have arms and legs in your spiritual body and that? And I thought, well, I don't know, you know, and then you know, thoughts just kept coming in saying, well, what do you got to be? You know, you need to know that so that you feel better when you're getting dismembered alive, and that's the kind of God you want to work for. And I got pretty resentful about that, said no, and actually turned against God, fought against God, tried to become an atheist, tried to make myself believe even that it didn't really happen, tried to influence other people, got kicked out of my religion classes for the last 3 years of high school because I was always arguing against the existence of God. And I just kept getting expelled for the last few years. And then in my when I went to university, and a while longer, up until when I got married, I still actively tried to turn people away from God, actively got involved in arguments about the existence of God and whether it was a good God, if there really was a God. So not quite the kind of story you'd expect. But then it came time to get married. At my wedding, I felt that God interrupted at a very important part of the service, where it said that when you have children, you're going to bring them up to know God. And I felt all of a sudden like it was just me and God there. Like the whole world just stood still. right in the middle of the ceremony, and I thought, what's going on now? He said, are you really mean that you're going to do that? That you're going to let the kids know, your children, and let them know about me, and not run interference like you are? I said, yeah, okay, I will. I'll just be neutral. And then that was it. Everything resumed, and I was kind of horrified what everybody was going to think was my long pause before I said anything. And I was amazed that nobody noticed me pause. It was like God stood time still for those couple moments to get that answer from me, that I wouldn't stand in the way. So then I went into a neutral mode, where I steered away from any arguments about God or religion, but I still wouldn't turn back to God. And till I thought I could do all things on my own, still could do anything I put my mind to, and I was better off that way. But then it was getting time for my oldest child, which was my daughter, registered for school and to start learning about God. Well, things kept going wrong. See, I mean, even the lifestyle I had like 5 cars, 2 drivers, really not necessary. Fixed a number of them myself, and they kept breaking. When I took back apart the alternator that I'd put in to see what had gone wrong with it. It was only a week old, and there was a bad solder joint in it, so I went and got a new stator winding at a junkyard, put it in, and it was okay. And then the other car goes, and this went on, and then a big lightning storm came along, and the house acted like a shock absorber. The guy said, the electrician that came to work on the house, said your house acted like a shock absorber for your neighbors for 2-3 blocks around with your big electrical system. Was over 300 amp service I had at the house, and just fried the whole big cable. Everything melted. It surged through the big appliances like the dryer and that, melted the terminal blocks in them and that. Oh, I was steaming. I went out on the deck in the backyard, and I said, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I said, I can't take it anymore. I don't want to fight you. I know it's you, because all this stuff couldn't be happening. It's against all odds, more than 1 billion to 1. So I know it's you. And you're trying to reach me. But you know, I'm so far gone and turned so far away from you for so long, I don't even know where to start. So just tell me where to go. Guide me where to go, and I'll go and do what it is you want me to do. And then I heard the phone ring, which is just inside the sliding door off the deck. And I thought, oh, who is it with such bad timing now? So I was kind of irritated, picked up the phone, said hello, kind of brusquely, not really friendly. And the voice on the other end said, hello, this is the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And my hand started trembling and shaking. The phone almost jumped out of my hand. I couldn't believe it. That's how quick the Lord was to respond at that time. And then it ended up being the school, the Christian school, the Catholic school, where my daughter, I enrolled her there, and then subsequently my son, for them to go to school and be taught about God and religion. And I went in, contacted the priest there, told me to start reading in the New Testament first, and I had a number of meetings with him after that, and a couple other pastors, and since then I've turned back and trusted God in a new way, and seen all of this past all in a new light. And it really made me wonder when I was reading about Paul. I thought, you know, that was one of the first prayers I prayed after I turned to the Lord, was that He would have sent somebody behind me, wherever I might have damaged somebody else's faith or tried to turn them away from God. And I have every confidence that He did do that, because He knew I would pray that prayer 25 years later. Because that was one of the very first prayers that same day when I was standing on the deck. Because I knew there was no denying, there was no turning back, and I'm better off with a God like this who responded so quick. Because if somebody had been fighting me for some 20 years and bad-mouthing me all along, I really don't think I would have been so quick to respond for a call for help. Or, okay, we'll be friends now, we'll call it quits. So, I mean, not anything to be proud of. Very, you know, kind of a shameful part, all those years wasted in that way, but yet I look back and I see in some ways I was supposed to be like that. Like, I worked hard and used my education and everything to try and make arguments against God and His very existence, and use science. And by the time I turned back, there isn't an atheist left on this planet that can tell me any argument I haven't already used. So, I mean, they can't convince me otherwise. They can't sway me now. And as for that fear that was there before, well, don't really worry about that, because God can handle that. And even pain, I know he can help you with pain, because one time, after I'd gone back to him, I was in the hospital and I went code blue. Something went wrong with the machine after I had a lung collapse and the nurse was checking it. And my father happened to be coming into the room just then, and she was just hitting the button for a code blue, and then she explained to him what happened. But the whole time, the pain was increasing to the point I couldn't stand it anymore. So I just cried out to God, "Hello, Lord, if this is it, then just take me now. And if it isn't time for me to go and I still have work to do, then help me with the pain." Immediately, the pain stopped. I felt myself shifted over, away from my body, as they knocked the other bed out of the way in the room, and they came in with those electric paddles and everything, and there was all the brouhaha going. I felt myself just floating in the air off to the side. And they were zapping me, and I could hear my father saying, "We're losing him. We're losing him. Dennis, if you can hear me, answer me." Well, I could hear fine, but I couldn't answer because I wasn't in the fleshly body. So I couldn't answer. But it felt so good to be away from the pain, I never opened my eyes to look around at all the chaos that was going on. I just listened to it until they said, "Okay, oh, we got him. He's coming back. He's coming back. Dennis, if you can hear me, say anything." Well, couldn't say anything till the Lord just moved my body right back into the fleshly body, and then I could answer them and say, "I'm okay." So during that whole time when the pain was unbearable, I was moved away from the pain. And then when it cleared and they had things straightened out, I guess the fleshly body couldn't speak without me there, just the organs for them to work on, and that till they got them responding, and then I could answer them after, and everything was fine. So, and I don't think that that was very indicative that I would be dismembered alive or anything like that. And there's probably no truth to the matter at all. It was probably just to get me to turn against God in the first place. But the Lord has a way of bringing good out of bad. So through all the bad things that happened there, He was able to bring better things out. And by the time I turned back to serve Him, it's just, I was a lot stronger for having gone through all that. And then at this time, with the cancer and everything, and having related the story at Bible study and with friends, I was asked if I could record some of this by my wife and some of my friends. So that's what I proceeded to do, and I knew this was the time. The Lord confirmed for me that this was the time to share this in a new way, and it would probably be shared with more people than if I had been speaking it for 20 years. So yeah, and I'm very confident being in His hands that everything will be all right, and as the angel said, I'll be able to go back and stand in the light again when my work here is finished, and until I finish it, I won't be gone despite this cancer taking a little more toll on me. As you can see from, if you saw the first video, lost all my hair in the meantime in just a few ensuing weeks. But that being as it may, I won't be gone until my work is done. I already know that. So the question is how much work I have left to do. That I don't really know yet. But this was definitely part of it, because this arose after the cancer diagnosis, and people asking me about it right after, and then I had 3 confirming signs 3 days in a row. Yep, each different from the Lord, so I knew this was time for this. So this was one of those unfinished jobs. And really probably would have more effect now than if I was telling people I came across throughout 20 years would probably never meet as many people, reach as many people as now.